Hello, everyone. I'm Steve from VALHARTV, and today I'm going to be reviewing Ghostbusters Afterlife. So I just came from the movie theater, and we're going to jump right in. So this movie is directed by Jason Reitman, who's the son of Ivan Reitman, who directed the first two original movies. So this is sort of a sequel slash reboot. Now the reason why it is a sequel because this is a continuation from Ghostbusters 1 storyline, okay? But this is also a reboot for a new generation, so they have to really kind of reintroduce the ideas of Ghostbusters and things like that. Uh, so I thought that was actually quite well done in the movie. We get Callie, who is played by, let me pull it up, Carrie Coon. She is a single mother of two. Now, her son is Trevor, who's played by Finn Wolfhard, who is from Stranger Things. He's a sullen teen with a knack for mechanics. But we also get McKenna Grace, who plays 12-year-old daughter Phoebe. Now, she is a nerdy misfit scientist whiz who has really like a kind of a hard time making friends, but she actually quickly makes a friend in this when they move to Somerville, Oklahoma, to take over their grandpa's dilapidated farm. So I thought that was very interesting. The movie quickly establishes a feeling of mystery about Somerville right off the top through like low angle camera work and other things as well. Like we get a car chase in the beginning after we see the grandpa taking off from Shandor Mining. So we get an immediate name drop in this, being nostalgic to the first movie. And as we go along, we kind of figure out who it is, even though they don't actually say the name until towards the end of the movie. So the one friend that Phoebe does make is a supernatural obsessed kid named Podcast. Now, why is he named Podcast? Because of his podcast. And I'm not making that up. He goes along with her, and they kind of start exploring her grandpa's house a little more after some unexplained events happen to Phoebe in the house. And as we go along, we see that she finds more than just the PKE meter of her grandpa's. So once she finds other stuff, this is kind of where we meet Paul Rudd's character, Gruberson. Now, we meet him kind of before the fact that he, sees like all this nostalgic stuff from Ghostbusters and things like that, because he's like the summer school teacher, and he's also a seismologist, and he's trying to figure out why there's tremors in Somerville when there's no seismic activity around. And it's, everybody kind of like sees this big giant mountain that's out there that was mined for selenium by Shandor to make the girders that were in Dana's apartment building in the first movie. So again, we get all this information from the original movie. And it's all member berries. Like, this whole movie is chucked full of member berries, including Ecto-1, proton packs. You get traps. I mean, you get all this stuff, including clips from the original Ghostbusters movie on YouTube. Yes, that's right. They do that. But they do it in a way that's actually really, really well done. And as we go along with the movie, we get more and more nostalgia. We get a romance with Paul Rudd and Carrie Coon's characters. We also find out that Finn is kind of liking this girl whose name is Lucky, who's played by Celeste O'Connor. So we really get like all these different little things in it, including some family drama. When Carrie takes her kids to the farmhouse, we find out the reason why she has to basically go there. And after she realizes that there's nothing really there for her. You know, she's like estranged from her father because her father pretty much picked up and left because of a specific reason. And they, you know, towards the end when we really finally get to find out what it really is, it makes sense, and it's actually quite well done. You know, you even get a little emotional because it's like, wow, nobody believed this guy, and they all thought he was crazy. And he tried to warn people, but they wouldn't listen. So, you know, that's, you know, so this is everything that accumulates towards the end of the movie, and it is 2 hours long. But the pacing is a little bit off in this at times because they're trying to establish new characters, reintroduce old characters, and keep going with the plot at the same time. So there's parts where it slows down just a little bit, but then it picks back up. You know, they've also got a couple romances they're trying to throw in there. So the pacing was just a little off. It wasn't bad though. Honestly, for sitting for 2 hours, I didn't even feel like it was a 2 hour movie. I actually went with some family members, and when I looked over, I was like, hey, what time is it? And I was like, wow. I was like, geez. I didn't even realize it, you know. You don't actually realize how long this movie is while you're watching it because it's that well done. Now, the effects in this, the effects were fantastic. There's a lot of practical effects in this, and there's a lot of CGI. Now, the CGI, they kind of turned down the frame rates for to make it look a little more practical. You know, like it's more of a practical effect. And it really works quite well. Like, there's a part in the school parking lot where they do something, and when the CGI comes up, it's you know, toned down enough to where it looks like it's more realistic. And I thought that was quite good. Like, the stuff that they do in this to continue the plot, I was like, dude, who in their right mind would actually do that? I'm like, really? I'm like, you're just gonna be like, oh, let's go try this, and you're like, wait, what? You're like, no way, man. So it was good. All the stuff in this was good. The score was even good. Like, the score was actually really good. Like, we get a lot of songs from the original movie. We get a lot of new songs as well. Some of the songs actually even build up the atmosphere like it did in the original movie, where you're like from the original movie where they go down into the basement of the library to meet the Gray Lady for the first time. All that little eerie sounds that they're putting in, they do kind of similar things in this movie to build up that atmosphere. There is some parts where I was kind of like, really? They set it up so somebody could be like, who are you going to call? And I was like, really? I laughed. But at the same time, I think they could have done a little bit better. But the acting in this, I actually really liked. I thought everybody did a really good job. McKenna Grace, I think, was the best part about this movie, though. Her character and the way she played her were fantastic. Because the story really is kind of centered more around her than anybody else. Like, and I feel like they could have done that a little bit better, too, because you've got Finn, who plays kind of the same character from Stranger Things in this, but they don't really give him a lot to do. Again, he's like basically the mechanic. He's not as smart as his sister, who's a science whiz and knows like what different parts are of certain things, and she's like, oh, well, you know, and it's like, really, man, you're 12 years old. It's like, how many, you know, but hey, there are some geniuses out there, even at 12 years old, so I didn't question it, but she did an outstanding performance. Like, her performance was absolutely outstanding in this movie. But it was more centered around her anyways. Everything else was more nostalgia and on the outside of her journey to become more confident in herself, to come out of her shell a little bit more, and to find out what her grandfather really did. I mean, this was absolutely quite well done by this young lady. Very impressed with this. So, basically, this whole movie was a sequel / reboot brought in a ton of nostalgia that they did quite well, I find. I felt they did quite well in it. And it also sets up for more things to come, hopefully. There are two there's a mid-credit and then there's an after-credit scene. So please stay if you haven't seen it. Please stay for those because it really helps. It really sets things up if they choose to go forward. I thought it was very, very well done overall. I would give this at least a 8 out of 10 easily. 8.5 I would go highest. I think Ghostbusters 1 is still like a 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10 for me. This movie comes pretty close. This movie does come pretty close to it. You'll never really recapture the original magic of the first movie. No movie really can. It's very rare when a sequel is better than the original, but there are some movies out there that do end up getting that, but not very often. So let me know what you think down below. Have you seen it? Have you not seen it? Let me know what you guys think of this movie, though. And if you guys like what I do, please hit the like button and subscribe. Take care for now, everyone.